So Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree just ended in a banger fight, and I want to say this first before I say anything else. Khalil Rountree, you are a dog. You had a great performance. It sucks it was at elevation. I think if you weren't at elevation, you might have had a better performance, but guess what? You still looked amazing in this fight, and you did the unexpected and went out there and actually took it to Alex Pereira, and you made this fight feel really crazy. And what I mean by crazy is that this fight had me on edge from the very beginning. When Khalil Rountree was landing shots on the chin of Pereira, I was on the edge of my seat. I wanted to keep watching, and my heart was racing the entire time. It couldn't stop. And I really did believe in this fight in the first 2 rounds that Khalil Rountree was going to win. I was like, hold on. Khalil Rountree's landing a lot of shots right now. He's diving in, landing great left hands, great right hands on the chin of Alex Pereira. He can go out here and he can possibly just win this fight outright. And it had me so invested into this because my take about Alex Pereira is that I think that he is the best thing in the UFC right now. He is fighting actively. He's fighting every 3-4 months. He's saving UFC cards. He's making the main events a ton better. And there's nobody in the UFC right now that's really doing that besides Alex Pereira. So I think him losing would be a huge hit to the UFC. So with that in mind, with that in my head, and I just tweeted that out before this fight even started, seeing Khalil Rountree go out there and land great shots on the chin of Pereira had me almost like, fuck, it's over. Pereira is now going to fall down. The UFC is going to be absolutely pretty much butchered because now we have fighters like Marab who hold body locks for 3-5 rounds and just knee the thigh and just don't have really entertaining performances. We have him being champion. And the last bastion of hope that I have is Alex Pereira. Him losing would just kind of make me almost fall out of love with the UFC. Honestly, I had that much emotion poured into this fight. Now, when I say that, that's not a knock on Khalil Rountree. I'm sure he would be a great champion. I'm sure he'd be a fine champion. I honestly want to see more Khalil Rountree matchups in the future after this fight, but I'm just saying it in a vacuum before this fight even started. That was my kind of mindset going into it. But with that out of the way, let's kind of focus on what actually happened in the fight. And with the first 2 rounds, with the first round mainly, it was Khalil Rountree landing really good shots on Alex Pereira. He found a way to dive in really effectively. He would, do 3-punch combinations, and that second shot would always land on Pereira's chin. We know with Pereira's guard, he always kind of, we know with how Pereira's we know that Pereira's defense isn't really the tightest. He more so relies on rolling with shots and seeing them coming and being able to avoid them. We know with his guard, he always has his hands out kind of like this. So straight shots down the middle can be very, very effective against Pereira. And Khalil Rountree was taking full advantage of that and being able to find those shots down the middle. And he was landing not just some little pitter patter shots, not just some weak jab or just some weak two that barely caught the chin of Alex. He was landing, actually thudding blows that I thought could KO Alex Pereira. But this is 205 Pereira, and I think a 185 Pereira would have gone down to one of those shots from Khalil Rountree. I think if he had to cut weight to middleweight again, I think he would have gotten chinned by Rountree. But this version of Pereira at 205, he's bigger, he's more hydrated, he's not going to get put down by shots that normally would put him down at middleweight. So when it comes to just the first round, Rountree takes that, I think, pretty easily. I think he landed the better shots in the entirety of that round. Maybe Pereira landed some more shots than what Rountree landed, but definitely 100% Rountree landed the more effective shots in that round. So in round 2, it's kind of the same exact thing as round 1. Rountree finding ways to land 3-punch combinations, diving in at Alex Pereira. Pereira's trying to back up, but he can't back up quick enough, so then Rountree lands a shot on him. But overall in this round, Alex Pereira was starting to find his timing, starting to find his range. He was starting to see more of what Khalil Rountree was throwing at him. And so he was landing a bit more, but towards I believe the 1 minute mark of that second round, Pereira goes for a high kick. And this is kind of reoccurring theme in this fight. I think the high kick was just not going to be there for Alex Pereira. Roundtree was already a lot smaller than him. And the first reaction for Roundtree for whenever Alex Pereira would throw a strike is he would just naturally duck. So whenever Pereira would go for a high kick, it would just go over the head of Roundtree and it wouldn't land for the most part. There was a couple that landed on Roundtree, but for the most part, they would always go over the head of him. And so in this situation, Alex Pereira throws a high kick. It goes over the head of Roundtree. He falls off balance. And as Pereira is trying to regain his balance from missing that high kick, Roundtree throws a right hand perfectly on the chin. It really badly wobbles Pereira. He kind of sinks down, doesn't get fully dropped, but he definitely sinks down hard. And this is what I mean about a 185 versus a 205 Pereira. I think if that was a 185 Pereira, I think the next follow-up shot would have KO'd him. But this 205 Pereira was able to recover very quickly, and he was basically kind of angry that he got hit by that shot. If you look at his face, he basically gets really angry and tries to go right back at Roundtree. So I think a 185 Pereira would have been done at that point. But however, he's fine. He's good. He's still in the fight. But I still think that round goes to Roundtree. Just based on the fact that he did land some good shots in that round. Maybe he was outlanded by Pereira again. However, he did kind of really hurt him bad at the end of the second round. So now the third round comes about. And this is where we see some visible signs of gassing from Khalil Rountree. He's getting more labored. He's getting more tired. Still having some success, but Pereira's more so focusing on the calf kicks. We see some of that damage that Pereira done to Khalil's calf really take fruit in this round. And Rountree's doing his best. He's trying to circle out. He's trying to find ways to avoid the low kick. He's trying to find ways to just avoid the shots of Pereira. But you can really only do so much when you have a 6'4" behemoth man just walking you down constantly, and he's going to continue walking you down no matter what. This was a very good sign of cardio from Pereira here. I thought he would gas out a bit more at elevation, but his cardio held up very, very well, and he was kind of visibly really comfortable in this third round and in this fight overall. He was, breathing a bit hard, but it never was anything that was too crazy in my opinion. But back to this round, Khalil Rountree again was gassing. His calf was definitely hurting him. He was having a lot less success. We see Pereira getting more comfortable, throwing knees at this point. I think at the end of the third round, he landed a jump knee. Pereira's jab in this round was getting more and more effective. And I believe at one point, he popped him with this jab, and it really, really stunned Rountree bad and had him kind of backing up for a second like he was really hurt, but he was fine still. But overall, Pereira's calf kicks, Pereira's jabs, Pereira's pressure was starting to really show up in this third round, and his investment was paying off. So I scored the third round for Pereira, so I had it 2-1 going into that fourth round. Now, the fourth round. This is where things get really juicy. Pereira is, getting really comfortable. And this is a change that I really like from Pereira, and it's a really big difference from the second Adesanya fight. He's more patient now. When he fought Adesanya the second time, he wasn't as patient. He knew he had Khalil Rountree backing up. He knew he had him hurt. He knew he had him done. But he wasn't really going out there and really overextending himself too much. In this round, you could definitely tell that Khalil Rountree was done. He was throwing shots. They were labored. They had no sting behind him. His game plan in the first two rounds, he just wasn't sticking to it anymore. He couldn't explode forward like he could, probably because of the elevation. He was visibly gassing. His nose was bleeding. He was really beat up in this fourth round, and Pereira just pretty much went for it. He was landing crazy combinations. The jab was money. He would pull counter with a right hand after Khalil would throw a hook. It was beautiful, and he was hurting Khalil a ton. Khalil, credit to him, he is beyond tough because he was sticking through this. He was not going to go down unless Pereira almost had to kill him at this point, because Khalil Rountree was just that hell-bent on being just one tough dude, man. And I have so much respect for Khalil Rountree after this fight. I just didn't think he would last 4 rounds with Pereira, let alone win 2 rounds versus Pereira and make it a competitive fight. But at this point, Khalil Rountree could just really only do so much. He's taking so much damage, and Pereira's just on him. He's just constant pressure. He has Rountree pretty much out of there. Rountree's trying to fight back. He's trying to circle out, but the constant pressure from Pereira is just too much. Eventually, he lands a really slick uppercut that hurts Rountree. Rountree's covering up, and he just lands 2 body shots, and Rountree just can't take anymore. Rountree's eye is all swollen up. His nose is really bad. Everything is just pretty much terrible on the face of Rountree. And again, credit to him, man. He really toughed out for as long as he possibly could. But the 2 body shots were just a nail in the coffin, and Rountree couldn't go any longer. So Rountree, again, man, amazing performance, man. You really took it to Pereira. You really kind of made up for the co-main event. Let's be real here. That was one of the most stinky fights that I've seen in a very long time. And it got me amped back up, right? After that Pennington and Pena fight, I was just on the verge of falling asleep. I was tired. I was low. I was trying to get locked in for the main event. And I think Rountree winning the first 2 rounds really made me lock in. And if I'm being honest here, if I'm being objective, if this is not at elevation, maybe Rountree beats Pereira. I mean, because Khalil Rountree was, visibly already pretty tired after the first round. And I imagine if Rountree just could not fight at elevation, then maybe his gas tank can last to that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round. Maybe he can go 5 hard rounds versus Pereira, but elevation, things are just different. It's just hard for a fighter to do that no matter how much you train. It's a thing you have to be accustomed to. And since this was the first time Rountree was ever fighting at elevation in Utah, it does make sense that he would gas out a little bit sooner than what he normally would. And since this is Pereira's second time fighting at elevation, it does make sense how his gas tank was a bit better than Rountree's, or just better in general. But like I said before, if this fight wasn't at elevation, could Rountree go for 3, 4 hard rounds with this game plan that he had and possibly just outstrike Pereira for 4 rounds? It's possible. It definitely is possible. He was getting tired. The calf kicks were taking an effect. I would still pick Pereira even if it wasn't at elevation, but it does make me think a little bit, which is really good for Rountree, honestly. I do have high hopes for him going forward. Hopefully he does go out there and just not lose to some can. I'm now a really big fan of Rountree, and I have a ton of respect for him. Now, what's next for Alex Pereira? I guess maybe Ankalaev. You could do that matchup, but if Ankalaev only wants to fight in Abu Dhabi, then maybe Pereira can take a fight in the meantime. I don't know what he's going to do. Pereira likes to stay active. He's 37. This is his 3rd title defense. I'm sure he wants at least 1 more, and I think he wants it probably soon. He did take some damage in this fight, so maybe he wants some time off. I would probably advise that for Alex Pereira if I was like his coach or something, if I was Glover Teixeira. But man, I really just can't complain about this fight. Pereira went out there and he made adjustments. He knew that he could invest shots into Khalil Rountree, and as the fight went on, he knew he could have more success. He got into a flow state. He was actively just... It was a beautiful sight to see from Pereira because Rountree was winging hooks, but Pereira had his range perfect. He was basically moving out the way with his hands down. You could just tell that he was feeling himself in the octagon, man, and it was just a really pretty thing to see from Alex Pereira. And so I'm glad that Pereira won, and I'm really glad that Rountree had a great performance. Both guys' stock went up. Maybe Pereira's went down a little bit because it was Rountree, a guy he was supposed to smoke in the first round, but you know what? It's MMA, it's UFC. Rountree was a tough opponent at elevation. Things happen. But again, man, I can't express how great this fight was, and it's one I'll definitely rewatch in the future, man. Hopefully we get Pereira back in the octagon soon. I don't want to see him out for too long, and I'm sure he won't be out for too long because it is Alex Pereira. But Ankalaev next, I guess. Maybe in Abu Dhabi, they might do that. I don't want to see that because I want to see Pereira stay active, So when's the next Abu Dhabi card? I don't know. It's probably some time away. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comment section. But I don't know. Great win. Great performance from both fighters. Great fight. I loved it. And that's really about it. If you like this video, like, subscribe, bell icon for notifications. But I'll see y'all later. Peace.